Welcome to this very special edition of the Author's Voice with KJ, a show where we explore the stories behind the stories. Here we dive into the worlds created by authors, discover their inspirations, and ensure that you walk away enriched and inspired. And today we have with us author Mike Smith, the former homeless veteran, and he shares his true life story of redemption. And as he says, God rescued me so I could help others who struggle with mental illness and addiction in love. And we'll talk about that, where we'll be talking about his book, The Gutter Gospel, The Road to Redemption, hidden memoirs. So let's dive into the story behind the story itself. Welcome to the show, Mike.
You're very welcome, AJ. Thank you for having me on today. It's a
You
little
are
bit
welcome.
early where I live. It's about 4 a.m. or so at where I live right now, 4:30 or something like that. But I hope I do a good job for you.
You have already done a lot of the road to redemption is not it is easy. You have already taken that path and you have are adding value to a lot of people. And that is where it's 3 o'clock, almost going to be 3 o'clock afternoon in afternoon in India. And it's nice to talk to you. Maybe doing this early, then you can go and get some sleep, Mike. So welcome back once again. This time on the author's voice with KJ. So tell us a bit about your background, your journey, Mike, so that people understand the context behind your book and your story.
Yes, sir, AJ. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'll kind of brush over some things. But I'll just say that my dad died when I was 15, and we had just moved to this new town 3 years earlier. And it was a small town of about 2,200 people located about a half hour outside of Fargo Moorhead. And that was hard on me. That was my first suicide attempt happened. I'm a 2-time suicide survivor. So I wanted to get that out there, that it was a tough road to go down. My life was, but when we're talking about the book today, and I'd like to share this with you guys, that it took me 30 years to write this book. And this is my famous saying all the time. It took me 30 years to write it and 60 years to live it. And it was difficult. I had to go through being homeless and on 2 different homeless shelters after I got kicked out of the military, and had to work construction, had to do a lot of stuff I didn't enjoy doing by any stretch of the imagination. But the journey kind of comes full circle in 2019 when I was in a state institution. They figured that would be the best place for me so I could get my medications balanced, because I was way off my medications. I was taking them, but they weren't the right ones. And when people talk about, doctors are practicing medicine, my old joke is, yeah, they're practicing on your brain, and it's not a specific science. So that's why the medications were not getting balanced. But I'll share this with you. I had to ride in a paddy wagon in chains for 6 straight weeks from Jamestown, North Dakota, where the state mental institution is, and that's back to Fargo, which is a 100-mile trek. And I don't know, I was at a low point then, but so after they discharged me from the homeless shelters and the state institution, and I spent time in jail as well, that it was a tough road to go down, like I said. But I just think that God had a higher purpose for me. And now that I've lived to tell about all those awful things in my book, it's therapeutic for me. It's very therapeutic. And I would like to share that, God's got a plan for everybody. That's kind of my messaging these days, is to say, don't give up. You'll see on my shirts again, the custom gear about the 22 veterans per day. You can see it right there off to the right. Uh, the very top line says 22 veterans per day. This is a different look and a different design, but anyway, 22 veterans, that rate has dropped over the last couple of years, which is an improvement, but the number is still far too high with veterans that take their own lives. The rate today isn't 22, it's 17.6. So now progress is being made as far as the VA having several different avenues to reach out for help instead of pulling the trigger and taking your own life. And I had posted all those links on my website, which is at theguttergospel.com. That's where you can also download my free autobiography at the bottom of the homepage. So I know I kind of went through it all, but there's a lot more details I could fill in for you guys if we have the time. So that's uh-oh, my dog just walked in. I hope he doesn't start barking. Yeah. But I'll
No,
let you ask your questions, AJ, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for helping us with those details, Mike. So to understand your book itself, let's get to the book itself. How did this book come about? Having such a difficult life, with all those things in backdrop. Writing a book is the last thing on anyone can be last thing on anyone's mind. When did this book's idea come in? How did this book happen? And I can
Yeah,
see this cover for the audience. This is a PDF version of the book, and which is available on Mike's website. And this is where the cover is. We are talking.
correct. Yes, sir. Well, I'll tell you what started the writing process, AJ, since you asked me that question. That was many years ago. Oprah Winfrey had her national talk show on, and she had her book of the month club is what she had, and she called on this author who wrote a book about supposedly his true life story, like I just shared with you, which is my actual truth, because most people wouldn't want to admit to the stuff that I had to go through, let alone write about it. So I guess you can say that kind of makes me a unique character. But so this guy comes on Oprah's show with all these false claims about his book. And then Oprah invited him back the next day because the show, Oprah's show, was getting all these calls from people that knew that author and said, "There's most of that is BS. It's just made up nonsense." And I'll never forget this. I turned to my wife at the time, and again, this is 30 years ago, AJ, that started the writing. And I turned to her and I said, I could write my own autobiography and it would be the truth and it'd be a lot more interesting than what this idiot had come up with. So I just started journaling. And, you asked me the question about that. That would be one of the last things people would want to do if they're going through all those traumatic experiences. But I found that it really was therapy for me when everybody kind of counted me out in life and I had to go through all of those problems. Um, A, it gave me an empathetic heart, but B, it was like I just thought it was very good therapy to be writing all the time. I still enjoy writing. Never really gave that up. I am in the middle of writing a big chapter that says Isolation Island. And that chapter talks about how alone I had been when I was going through all those struggles and everybody had given up on me. And isolation is a killer. if people isolate, they need to be out in the community volunteering or just, being active, because the old saying is that too much time on your hands is like the devil's workshop. So you have to get out there and get involved in stuff. And I'm involved in these days with my small men's group up here in jail chaplain ministry in Fargo. So I attend meetings now every night with those guys throughout the community, which helps me a lot. And so yeah, the story is the truth. And my publisher thought I was nuts because I got it published by Brooklyn Publishing out in New York. I wanted to add that and say that they thought I was crazy for not charging anything for the book, especially given the material that I cover in the book and everything else. And I said, if somebody calls me crazy, that's probably one of the best compliments I can get. But I just didn't feel it was right to charge anything for the book. So I would encourage your listeners, whenever they get time, to go through the book. There's sample chapters on my website, so you can kind of get an idea of what the book leads into with bipolar and addiction and everything else. So, I was always journaling, AJ. I don't know why, but that's how the book came about.
Absolutely. That's how the book came about. And who is this book for, Mike? Is it for everyone? Was it written for yourself? Obviously not. You want to change the world. It's about the life story of redemption. Tell us a bit about your redemption, and as well as who is this book about and for.
Okay. Well, the redemption came after that 2019 hospitalization out in the state hospital. And that's where the redemption story starts to kick in, and all the past stuff kind of goes by the wayside. So what happened was, I had mentioned that for 6 weeks they would haul me back and forth in the paddy wagon to stand trial in chains to beg for my freedom. But the last time they rejected me, they said, okay, we're going to put you in another homeless shelter. So I thought, here I go again. Nobody wants me. And, now why do I have to just continue to go through all this? But anyway, so I'm in the homeless shelter now. There was veterans upstairs, military vets, and then criminals downstairs in this facility. And we would eat all of our meals together. But this is the road to redemption now, that one day I was living in the homeless shelter still, and a lady that worked there came in and said, Mike, you have some mail. And I had to think about that for a second, because nobody was keeping contact with me, so I didn't know what the mail would be about. But anyway, long story short, I open it up and there's 2 big checks in there for receiving 100% service connection from the military. And what a blessing. I packed up all my stuff, headed out of there in a rush, because I just wanted to get a normal life back. I wound up buying a twin home, which I since have flipped for a nice profit. And my life is more balanced now, so that I can't. You asked me who this book is for. The audience makes up a lot of different backgrounds, because the way you have to look at it, AJ, is that everybody's been down and out or at the low point in life and questioning their purpose and all this other stuff. And I'm kind of the poster child for what happens when you rebel. But it was a very cathartic process to write that book, and it took a lot out of me. But I'm glad I got it out there, because not many people that I know of, or I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm rare for a lot of reasons. There's a small percentage of veterans to get 100% service connection like I do, and to still be here to talk about my story in and of itself is a miracle. I never thought I'd live to be 60 years old, but here I am. So, uh, yeah, I'll let you fire away some more questions, AJ, because I'm kind of doing all the talking.
No, that is where my job is to ask, but if you are answering what I wanted to ask, nothing can be better than this. And that is where I want to ask you, in this, in terms of that this is one book. Anything else that you are planning, not only in terms of books, but in terms of projects, anything else that you have, looking forward towards in life?
Yeah, I'm very thankful that you mentioned that. What's next for me? It just so happens, AJ, that over the weekend I booked my information and reservations to go to the ICVM Storytellers Conference. I know we kind of mentioned this before, but not tonight. So, ICVM Storytellers, if you guys want to Google it, is being held in Orlando this year, October 1st through the 4th. So we're saving up our money to go down there and pitch my story, my published autobiography, to producers and directors and investors that are from all over the globe. I can do you a favor, AJ. I just received this. There's a thing they call the networking PDF for ICVM, and it's like over 56 pages of nothing but producers, directors, investors, and I just got that over the weekend, renewing my membership. So plans are to go to the conference and swing for the fence and pitch my story and see if it can be turned into a movie. So that's on the horizon, coming up pretty soon. The other thing I'm doing is going to be starting my own podcast, I think, here in the not too distant future, and see where it goes. I have lots of free time, so I'm kind of leaning towards that too. But yeah, that's the stuff that's in the works.
Wonderful, doing a lot of great work, bringing a lot of hope to other people's lives, especially for people who are struggling with mental illness. So that's a lot of work, that's a lot, and your podcast is coming. So coming back to the book itself, Mike, what is it, the readers of this particular book of yours, what insights, what key messages do you want them to take away from this book?
Yeah, good question, AJ. What I want them to take away more than anything is that they all have a unique purpose in life. And you might not see it when you're going through some of the stuff I have, but I firmly believe with my whole heart these days, the reason I had to go through all that is to have an empathetic heart towards the other people that are hurting. So that's kind of my messaging all the time. When I get these out, these podcasts, it's nice because I give out my personal email, and then I'm hooked up to WhatsApp, and I listen to the voices from people hurting all over the world. When they email me, which is, I'll give it to you right here, it's Mike at theguttergospel.com. If they email me there, I will reach out to them as quick as I can and encourage them to say, you have a unique purpose and God doesn't make junk. So, let's find out together where your talents lie, and we'll get some encouragement going that way. And some of the lessons I've learned, like I mentioned, those small groups, I would encourage them to get involved in that. If they're suicidal, to call the suicide line, which I have on my site. I also would encourage them to call the prayer line. And I have a few other links up there that are helpful links to one organization or the other that can help. And what I always say, AJ, is if they do reach out like that, or feel like they can't trust them. But after listening to me and everything I've been through, they figure, well, maybe Mike can help. So I really enjoy reading those emails and talking to people that are struggling just like I had to. And I can encourage people now. That's the beauty of it all.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the Author's Voice with KJ. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, Mike.
Goodbye.